All right, looks like the control room just activated us up on YouTube and Facebook. So, welcome to the High Desert Makers Maker Monday for March 2021. We are
3M.
we are 1/6 of the way through the year.
No.
Yeah, I know. What's that in percentage?
No, that's not how it works.
16.6 repeating.
Yeah. All right, looks like the control room just activated us up on YouTube and Facebook. So, welcome to the High Desert Makers Maker Monday. I suppose I should turn off 2021. I'm watching. We are
3M.
What am I doing? We are 1/6 of the way.
Oh
God, where is it? I am. Where is it? There it is. Now it's over. I was getting an echo back, and it was feeding back, and so on. So, anyway, well, hey, you know what? We're nothing if not professional.
Okay.
We're nothing.
We're nothing.
Well, you know what? I think one part of our team is definitely on the professional side. I don't know about the others. You might be able to, I don't know, see our screens and determine which one might be the professional one.
Wow.
Scott. But Scott.
Wow. If I were you, I'd be insulted. But, well, for those that are watching and watching the train wreck that is the Zoom here, we at the High Desert Makers, we used to get together once a month at McMenamin's or at the Maker Mill, and this year we had a request to do it again, and we do it virtually. So we've kicked this off. This is our second one. The first one we ran, my recollection is we started at 5:30 or 5. But
the first one was 5:30, and I was late to that one. So
perfect. And this time was 6:30, and you were an hour early.
That's correct. So do I get points? Do I get?
You know what?
The average is
you have doubled your points.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I just. Let's see what we got right here. That is bizarre. We're trying some new equipment here, and anyway, so welcome from Connect Central Oregon studios and the Co-Lab studios on the Oregon State University Cascades campus. This is the OSU-Cascades Innovation Co-Lab. We've been working for many months in order to get some studio and some equipment set up so that we could help entrepreneurs that are part of the OSU-Cascades Co-Lab access to be able to do things like Kickstarter videos, explainer videos, and so on. We're taking this opportunity, especially in light of COVID, to run the Maker Mondays and run hybrid events where some of us can be in the office and some of us can be out. Pardon me, I dropped a piece of equipment here, so we'll grab that. Nothing like doing live TV here. And our goal today is very literally just to meet and to take an opportunity for those that want to join, say hi, meet other makers, and ultimately learn a little bit about what we're doing here as the High Desert Makers. High Desert Makers is the nonprofit here in Central Oregon that is focused on the maker movement. It was founded back in 2013. It continues to this day. On the screen here today, you see Jack Farley, who serves as the president. You see, I guess everybody knows you as Doc. So Tim Burnett, who serves as one of the board members.
Yep, that works.
There you go.
You know.
Exactly. What's up, Doc? And my name is Scott Brees. I'm one of the original founding members of High Desert Makers, and I recently came back on the board. We're hoping to get joined by a couple of the other board members and some other makers. But really, today it was not intended to be a webinar where we're talking about things. It really is about creating a virtual, interactive opportunity. We're doing this via Zoom, so people can join via Zoom and pop on and interact. We've got breakout rooms if they want to meet and chat with other makers about other things. But we have a couple things we were going to talk about today. And let me just start by saying, Jack, how you doing?
I'm very excited. I'm trying to spread the rumor, and please help me, that we're almost out of the woods with COVID. We will be, spring is in the air. It's going to be an exciting year, and the time is perfect for us to start building in some energy for high desert makers. So I'm really excited that this is our second one, and the best is yet to come.
There you go. Tim, Doc, how do you
Tim,
follow
Doc?
that?
Oh,
How do you
no.
follow the end of COVID and the beginning of spring?
I really don't think I have the wherewithal to really follow it appropriately, but I can say I made an escapement gear out of wood for a new clock that I'm making. How about that? Yeah,
You are a
that's
true
done by
maker.
hand.
Really? Have one of my
Well, I've got all the other gears I need to.
one of my favorite all-time sites was Wood Gears. This is one of the original makers, and if you haven't already been to Wood Gears, this is very, very early on in the maker movement. He started creating and documenting everything that he does, and truthfully, it was one of the greatest websites that I had ever seen about the mathematics behind creating the gears and other tools and toys. And I just, for years, was fascinated following his photo escapades. So you did you follow any of this stuff? Or did you do, when you say did it by hand,
There was
you literally did it
actually
by hand?
there was a guy, Brian Law, who he's out of England, I believe, and he makes clocks, clock designs, and they're set up to be like you can CNC the designs. The file comes with CNC files as well as the regular old-fashioned printed out files. And Aaron Lease turned me onto it, and I got the starter clock, and that's what I'm working on.
Woodenclocks.co.uk.
I have a friend that makes them out
That's
of.
the one.
Yeah, I have a friend that used to laser cut them out of plexi, and he did it. And he did. Yeah, he was consistently looking on gears and other things like that. I think he got them. I think he got a plexi clock within like a second per year. By the time all was said and done.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Don't mind my bookcase. I'm running downstairs. I'm running downstairs to get a beverage.
So that's Jim Pfister. Jim is
well read.
Yes, Jim's a maker, and he's also the board chair of the Connect Center Oregon folks. Jim also, by the way, curates, or I think manages currently the Sun River Art Gallery.
Yeah, I co-manage the gallery with Bonnie Janelle. And hey, I'm using the Starlink dish that Scott loaned me to make this call. So we'll see whether it craps out in the middle or not.
Look at that. Hang on a second. I'm watching for those that are. Yeah, I know, I get that. For those, I have some in-ears in our control room. We're testing some new equipment in there, so they're talking to me in the background just like a newscaster would. So they're making fun of me in the process, and they're typing nasty words on the screen.
Well, it's easy to make fun of you.
Yeah. So everybody just joined a few minutes ago. We're kind of getting some things started. We thought about moving it to 6:30 to give people an opportunity to join. We still haven't necessarily found the right time. March Madness basketball isn't really on at the moment, is it? I'm asking a bunch of non-sports folks, which is perfect.
Not yet.
I'm a sports folk, but it's not going on yet.
Got it.
Then again, Dayton's not making it this year, so it doesn't matter.
Is March Madness going to be March, or is it going to be a different month this year? I know they're playing football.
Well, we'll see.
April Madness.
I don't know. They're playing football, so I'm
thing?
very confused.
any University of Dayton alums are a little bummed because last year Dayton was actually probably going to be one of the top 5 teams in the tournament, and then they canceled the tournament. So it was Obi Taupin is now in the NBA.
Yeah.
Sorry, my wife is asking me a question. I'll be back in a second.
There's a mute
I would
button,
too.
I think, Jim.
Scroll up and look under.
Nope, we're going to hear all that conversation.
Yeah, control mute Jim, just as a general statement. Go ahead and mute him.
I was going to say, my education was at Ball State in Indiana. And if you don't know, Indiana is known as the Hoosiers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are fanatical about their basketball.
Bobby
And
Knight.
I didn't really experience it till then. Go ahead, Jack.
I said Bobby Knight. What else can you say? Bobby Knight is the infamous coach for the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, Indiana.
No,
I actually applied to Ball State. I didn't get. I went to Dayton instead, but I did apply there.
You say Hoosiers to me, and I immediately think Gene Hackman.
Right? It's true.
The movie?
The Ohio joke is it's the Hoosier State because you have to ask who's your daddy.
Oh.
So just very quickly, so that since Jim made reference to it a moment ago, for those that aren't already aware, so for the last couple of years, Tesla and in particular SpaceX has been launching satellites, hundreds of them, 60 at a time, into space, and they've been circumnavigating the globe, getting up into their orbits. Well, it's intended to provide the Starlink internet service. I'm on the beta along with a couple other people that we have, our other board member as well, Todd, and a few other people. We are on the Starlink beta. So we've got the dish, or what is affectionately known as
The dinner plate.
Dishy McFlatface, that's what they call it. So so Jim has that unit sitting now, and we've been testing it in various capacities. I've got it up on screen just very quick for those that aren't aware. And from what our tests have seen for us over the last few, I don't know, a couple months we've been testing, is we've been getting broadband speed, absolutely phenomenal speed that is capable of doing some very real live broadcasts. For example, high upload speed, high download speeds. We could go out onto the mountain and do it again. We ran an event as Connect Central Oregon back when the Comet was up, and we went up, we borrowed some equipment from Central Oregon Daily and went up on top of, I think it was Horse Butte or Coyote Butte out here, and ran for a couple hours and just did a live stream. We can do this with our own equipment now, and very cost effectively. So this is another phenomenal example of a bunch of makers and Tesla and SpaceX to get this up there. So I'm actually glad to see it be used in this capacity. So
Scott, does it look like it's fixed my lag?
It has not.
And the funny thing is, my wife's computer doesn't have a lag, so it's got to be me, and I can't figure out what setting is screwed up in my system.
Well, it is,
Operator error.
Well, it could. I mean, hey, as a longtime information technology person, the problem is always between the chair and the monitor.
That's correct. And as they say, the ID10T error.
Yes.
So there you go. But yes, it's so the audio doesn't lag, the video lags. So we're definitely we'll help you figure that out. So we're kind of vamping right at the moment to see if some other people were going to join, but we had a couple of things we were going to talk about today. One in particular, again, is just the whole point of Maker Mondays is to bring people on board, give them an opportunity to meet other makers, talk about other making activity that's going on in the region, discuss other events or activities, and not necessarily listen to us talk. It's not necessarily a keynote. It's nothing very specific. It's about what's of interest to you and meeting other makers and sharing some of the ideas. We hope to, on a regular basis, bring on some guests, if you will, who want to talk about a particular project. We have a couple that are working on some that have asked us to highlight themselves. But right now, what our target is trying to figure out what the right day and time is. We still believe Maker Monday. We still believe Monday is the right answer. But if the time needs to be moved back to 5 o'clock, we'll do it. We'll solicit some input again with people. Find out if Monday at 6:30 still works or not. So, wanted to start by saying, Jack.
Yes.
Jack and I were talking the other day. The mailing list. We've resurrected the mailing list, and we've done a lot of pruning on it over the last couple of months, and we're going to continue to get that updated and going forward. We encourage anybody that's learned about Maker Monday through the mailing list, please update your profile, update your preferences, click the buttons on the profile that let us know what you're interested in, and of course, forward it on to somebody that you think might be interested in Maker activities, and get them to join or get them to subscribe. Any of those things would improve the quality of the messages and so on that we send out. So if you're just learning about this, maybe through the YouTube channel or through Facebook or some other means, please do take the opportunity to subscribe or update your mailing list.
I will make sure to. I was planning on forwarding the meeting notice to the COMAG group. Since I didn't get it until today, I forwarded it, but I'm not sure anybody will get it by the time everything starts. But if I get a meeting notice, I know several people on the COMAG board and in the guild, and so I will forward over there. And a friend of mine said that she would also forward it to the Blacksmiths Guild.
Good. Thank you. And again, anybody watching, by all means, go to the High Desert Makers website, which I just noticed today, one of the changes that was made. We're going to have to, this is the mailing list, but if you go to the Facebook site and come to the mailing list that way, it'll add you. Or if you're already receiving the mailing list, the mailings from us, there is a link on there to go ahead and update your profile. So follow that. I'll pause for a minute. I've got some stuff. I originally had invited somebody to come in and be one of the first guest speakers. She wasn't available. She had to head out of town. So I've got a couple things to show you, and we're going to talk briefly about a couple of the links that I sent out, notably the Nation of Makers, which is sitting up on screen right here. But I'm going to pause right now and ask you guys if there's anything anybody wants to chat about or talk about at the moment. Any updates you may have since we last met?
The question I have is, I'm interested in knowing, are there any events planned in the Northwest region? Any maker events? I'd love to make road trips and go check out a couple. I don't know if people are back scheduling events yet, or whether we're still hunkered down, or I want to get out and meet people is what I want to do. I'm Zoom is,
Yeah.
I'm getting tired of Zoom. No, Zoom is a great tool. Don't get me wrong. I need to shake some hands.
The virus is preventing that at the moment. I did, since you brought this up, the Yakima Makerspace, which started at or about the same time that we started the original High Desert Makers. They're having a virtual auction that I just got a notice about the other day. This is another example of a good community makerspace that has made good progress. Now, all these photos that you're seeing, of course, are from prior events and activities that they ran, but they are still running. And as you can see, much like DIY Cave, they're available via appointment. So that is the Yakima Makerspace. So Jack, since you asked, I might as well talk really quickly. When you say shake hands, unfortunately no shaking hands, but there are a couple of events that are happening online. I've brought up the Nation of Makers site. This notice was, yeah, there you go, elbow bumps. This was just set sent out, they announced it a couple days ago, but they run a lot of virtual events and virtual activities. And in fact, this is something I'm going to come back to here in a few minutes, but this is another great opportunity where makerspaces and community organizations around the country can go back in and present. So again, the virus is preventing most true events from happening as you would expect.
But the bars are open.
The bars are open, and here in Oregon, the liquor stores are open.
I think we're going to come out of the woods quicker than anybody thinks. That's my optimism.
Let's hope so.
Well, it's not going to slow us down.
That's actually my other thing tonight. I'm on a volunteer call list calling people for COVID workshops. So I probably will leave relatively early tonight so that I can get back to calling people and getting them registered.
Got it.
What do you mean by
So-
COVID workshop?
What is that?
COVID clinic, I guess. There's a they're opening up a couple of things. So South County is opening up, and we're trying to get people into the South County slots.
Ah, okay. So vaccination based.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, this doesn't teach you how to catch COVID. It teaches you how to not get it.
Yeah, I was thinking how to make it, or
So, that would be a horrifying maker space, but it would be an interesting maker space. Make your own virus.
hey, I just built myself a fume hood in my shop.
There you go.
So dangerous things might happen soon.
Create your own mRNA protein spikes.
Maybe not that yet.
I've seen this episode of CSI. All right, so
Yeah, my first goal was to try to make some nitric acid, and my nitrogen source was not the most appropriate. So I made not nitric acid, but I was safe the whole time because of my new fume hood.
There you go.
I'm going to bring on another camera here in just a moment, because I was going to show you guys something here, hopefully. So get this muted here, stop video, there we go. We'll bring that on board. So, Doc, anything going on? We're just opening it up. We're kind of vamping here for a moment or two while we let some people either join, or looks like tonight we might have to rethink the 6:30 start time.
Yeah.
I was going to say all the people that showed up
Yeah,
late
so,
to the 5 o'clock meeting, now they're showing up late to the 6:30 meeting. Sorry, Doc.
No worries. I could probably.
That was not me.
That was me, but I'm trying to figure out why. Because
Extraterrestrial.
It should be muted.
Scott's from the future.
Says it's muted here.
That was perfect. Oh, and I didn't get a reverb on my perfect.
Oh, it sounds
Man.
like
A minute too late.
Say it now, quick.
Outer space.
very good.
All right, here we go. Oh, this is funny.
I was
There
gonna
was-
say I could talk for a long time about all the miscellaneous projects I have.
Go for it.
Sorry about the delay. Apparently, there's a perfect amount of it for interrupting smooth conversation.
No, it's all good.
Have you guys seen this wood that the cave has?
Is that? Yeah, is that back in the classroom? Yeah. What is that? Is that balsa or something?
No, it looks like walnut to me.
it's a redwood, and
Okay.
it comes from a guy's shop who did reclaimed monastery doors.
Ooh.
And it has a natural curl to it, like that.
Yeah.
That is its natural shape. And so we're trying to figure out what the hell we can do with it. So I've been messing around with different miscellaneous projects, and I've got a few in the house, just a basic box. I also have some earrings and a set of daggers, ceremonial daggers, that have that wavy blade to it. And I set in emeralds and then rubies on the two to contrast colors. They look awesome.
What kind of width can you get with it? And what kind of width can you get out of it? It looked like that was about a 4x4.
Oh no, this is 2.5
Yeah.
wide, and then however 10ish, 11 long. But they have beams
Yeah, there's some
of
bigger
it.
ones.
Down there. Yeah. So we're just trying to figure out what the hell to do with it besides make a monastery door.
Well,
But,
I would. I mean, there's always different opportunities around shelves or bookcases or other things like that.
mhm. It's just so odd to work with because it has such a weird and interesting grain pattern. You almost don't want to ruin it.
It's also very light. It's very light. Weight.
Yeah,
weight.
it's a redwood, so it's not super super dense.
Okay. Okay.
Well, there's a fair amount you can do with it. I'm just trying to. Now I'm out in my shop. There's a fair amount of stuff that you can do. And sorry about the video lag. I'm trying to get it right. But am I getting it in the frame? Here's a couple of pieces that I'm doing now. These are bigger pieces for tables. But taking advantage of that live edge or of the curve or other things like that, you can do lots of neat stuff. So for instance, here's let me see if I can get it, shelf that I'm doing. And you can see there was a big void in the wood, so I actually did a resin fill in it. And I still need to polish and fill that. But live edge shelves or live edge bookcases or even some other things like that, those would make really good accents for underneath of a live edge shelf, especially if it's a redwood.
Yeah.
Or you could do it for the underside of a table or something like that, where you'd get the scalloping on the table.
Almost like the apron.
Yeah.
Almost like the apron, the little drop down underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be pretty neat.
Yeah, it's and I don't have a big table that I'm doing right now. I just have these couple of small ones. I will say, courtesy of COMAG, here's Jesse Pemberton over at COMAG. Get him in the field, Jim. Made me some really nice hairpin legs for one of the table projects that I'm doing. So this is a local artist, did the fabricating and then had the powder coating done locally, and did some work. And ooh, I got bubbles on my resin. Don't mind me while I do a little work while I'm down here. Keep talking.
Yeah, the resin work's kind of interesting because it could really allow you to use things that you never would have been able to use previously. I mean, I've got a whole set of pieces of walnut that are just super highly figured, and the person I got it from, they were making jewelry from it. And all the pieces that had these huge inclusions in them, I took some mica based dye, so coloring, and made them, filled in those little cracks with the resin so that you have these streaks of kind of a vibrant metallic color that goes through them.
Yeah, I use, at
And
least
hopefully
I've been using,
usable.
where are they? The Pearl X powdered pigments for my resin stuff. So I use a 2-part epoxy, and then the Pearl-Ex I just got at Hobby Lobby, or as I call it, made in China. But the Pearl-Ex powdered pigments have worked really well. I can do just a small scoop of those, and those will color that, you saw that brilliant blue in the maple board that I showed you. That was probably, a 1/4 teaspoon of powdered dye in a half a cup of resin.
I use this. I use the same stuff.
Yeah, so I love
the
that
same stuff I use.
It works really well. It holds color really well, and you don't need to use all that much to be able to cover the whole spot.
And it doesn't mess with your blending of your mixing.
Exactly. Or actually, for me, in my 2-part, I put it in the resin itself, and then I pour the hardener in. And when the color is completely through the whole thing, then I know that it's mixed. So it actually tells me when it's mixed.
That's a good indicator. I would never trust it personally. I'll still mix it for another minute or two.
Oh yeah, I still do too. It's it's fun, and I don't know about that, but I do a lot of work in juniper, and what I'll find in the juniper, because a lot of times you're filling a void that's already there, and you want to fill it to try and treat it, because those will continue to soften. But that's also where a lot of the sap in the juniper is. So sometimes I'll do a project, and like a week later I'll go, crud, I must have not mixed it well enough, because there's a sticky spot, and it's not the resin, it's actually the sap getting pushed by the resin out. And so I have a table in the gallery that oozed sap for about a year before it finally dried up. And now it's fine. But it was just really interesting, because I was like, man, how did I screw that up? I thought I mixed it for way too long. And it just takes a little bit of time.
It didn't mess with the epoxy itself, though.
Yeah, it didn't mess with the epoxy. The hardener actually worked on the epoxy. It was just the sap was just oozing out around the epoxy wood bond.
Being pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be really interested to see the stuff in the shop. I'm trying to get over there, and you said it's over at the DIY Cave or somewhere else.
Yeah, and they're currently, they actually have a whole bunch of slabs, juniper slabs from a local mill, and they recently got this other stuff, this curly, weird stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at that close up.
Yeah, it's I don't think they have it for sale yet.
Hey, I just want to see it. I'm less worried about. As far as wood is concerned, my wife thinks it's like quilting but worse. You just collect it and lay it in the garage, and then she gets really mad. So I'm trying to, I've got probably a year's worth of projects that I can do. Although I am in line for a big piece of redwood that I'm looking to make into a 2-piece table. But for the most part, it's just fun for me. I grew up around wood and woodworking and all the rest, and so I just like to look at the wood and see what the different grains do, and then figure out what people are going to do with it.
You said you have like a year's worth of projects. I totally have you beat. Here's some of the scrap. This is, by the way, this is the part of my shop that is not wood storage.
Right. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Oh, there's a Willamette Valley walnut in the corner. That's going to be a dining room table once I get to it. We're still not done.
Oh, I know.
Those are all my special cutoffs that have all the little miscellaneous inclusions and extra curliness and all that fun stuff. And leather. Yeah, that's not quite wood, but I'm currently plugged in so that I.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So one of the issues, my shop is not connected to my house. So I have a USB plug for the internet. So I can't like move very much to show you the rest of my shop. But this is the expansion. So the building I'm in and the one that's over there was originally here when I bought the house, and I built the interim expansion
That's
for
nice.
it. So
You're much
about a
nicer than
total
mine.
of, is yours a
I
garage?
yeah. Well, so my last house I built, and I did a 3-car garage, and the third bay was an extended bay, and that third bay was basically my workshop. And then if I needed to, I could clean it up enough that I could get a truck in during the snowstorm or something. When I moved to the remodel that I'm doing now, we have a 2-car, and it's kind of an oversized garage, but I still need to occasionally get 1 car into it. So, I have I have a wood pile, and then basically I just move around the tools for the project. So it's pretty primitive, but most of the stuff that I do is kind of stone knives and bear skins anyway. I use not all hand. I use powered and unpowered, but I use mostly hand tools. My most complex tool on most projects is a chop saw.
So how do you work with like ripping or
If I need it,
planing?
I don't plane. I sand. It's if it's live edge wood, a little variability. What does it matter?
Yeah.
If I'm doing a long rip cut, I will use a circular saw, and I have a couple of clamp guides where I'll just clamp a relatively straight board for something like that. But what I'll say though is I've actually my favorite, and I haven't done one in a while, but I love doing waterfalls where the grain falls the whole way around, and that takes a pretty precise cut. And I've seen people that have $20,000 cabinet tables that can do it. I can do it with a circular saw, and now the circular saw in particular that I have for that, I got it fixed to the exact 45-degree angle that I wanted, and then I super glued the lock nut and bought another circular saw because I didn't want that thing to ever move again. But then I just clamp it, and I can get I can get that 1.5 and cut, and then flip the other way and do the 1.5, and I can pull the grain, as good as I've seen some of the other people on their cabinet tables. So all it is I can't call it Yankee ingenuity because I'm from Southern Ohio. It's redneck ingenuity, I guess.
If I ever have any ingenuity, it's from Southern California. That doesn't even work. We don't have ingenuity. We pay people and act snooty for it.
Now hold on a second.
No, come on. It's Southern California. The ingenuity abides.
So
okay, there we go.
funny true story on this one, by the way. So Ocean Pacific, the brand that was effectively started by the Southern California surfers, was one of the members of the original crew is my uncle, and my cousins were benefactors, obviously, of a great deal of that ingenuity. The true life story has to do with surfboards and skateboards and a patent that was sold that allowed his family to move to Oregon, and that family is now here in Oregon, in Bend. So that all came from the 60s and 70s Southern California ingenuity. So don't knock them too bad.
I was just looking for some self-deprecating jokes, but
but hey, what I'll say though is, working at Intel for all the years that I did, ingenuity is basically desperation in some way, shape, or form that turns into results. But and sometimes it's just kind of the random stuff. there was, and I still remember there was a guy, and this was in the early days of digital video, because I was actually in the team that brought the first digital video to the marketplace, took it off the television, put it on the PC. And our lead algorithm programmer got all of his insight on the weekends when he was cutting the lawn. He would just be sitting there mowing the lawn, and that was his little Zen space, and he'd be thinking along, and he'd be like, oh, I bet you if I did the vector this way mathematically. And I used to be the recipient of a lot of the fun because I was one of the first people in the office. So I'd be in the office about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and all of a sudden he'd be walking around about 7:30 looking for somebody to show his new project to. So he'd knock on my cube. He's like, "Hey, come here, look at this." Well, I figured out that I could double buffer the video and blah 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 blah. Pretty neat, huh? That was the way he always ended it. But all of his insights were, all of his insights were done via lawn mowing. So ingenuity comes in any form.
That's one of the things that I noticed that for not only myself, but for a lot of other makers, is that if they don't have busy downtime, they usually don't have as good of an ability to create. Like that busy downtime when your hands are busy, when your body is busy doing something, and your mind can kind of walk and wander through things and revisit, that's some of the most useful time where you come up with some of the best ideas.
Mm-hmm.
That and 2 a.m.
Right.
A lot of times when I'm looking for a new project to do, what I'll do is I'll take 4 or 5 interesting pieces of wood and I'll lay them on the floor, and then I'll sit on my workbench or anymore my little Black & Decker work table that I've had for 90 years. And I'll just sit there and I'll look at the wood and just kind of look back and forth on, well, what is that? Sorry, I'm going to sound like an artist. I ask the wood what it wants to be. And I wait for it to tell me, and sometimes, yeah, shut up, Scott. But sometimes it takes a while. I mean, there's pieces that have been sitting in there for a while, and it's like, don't know what that is, and then it's like, I know what that is now. And so there's there's a lot, especially that wood, that with the interesting edges and all that. It'll tell you at some point or another what it really needs to be. You just need to sit there and listen to it.
As Scott might scoff, I'm personally not going to. I agree with that process.
See, I don't have a problem with it. By the way, Jack, I was going to say, those two showed us their workshops.
Yeah.
Is yours accessible via camera?
Yeah. It's out in my barn. I don't know if I have Wi-Fi out there.
It was actually,
and it might not be accessible.
We might have to get you the Starlink.
Yeah, we'll get you the Starlink for next month.
I'll try to walk out there.
I was actually I was gonna be down there working tonight, and then I got this call for the COVID clinic, and so I've been doing phone calls, but I was actually planning on being down there and having the PC set up, but the downside was, so I showed you the resin pours that I was doing. That was the second pour. The first pour was yesterday, and it wasn't necessarily successful. So tomorrow morning I'll be chipping resin off my garage floor.
Hang on, you're watching live
watching
Wi-Fi.
Jack walk. Yeah, here's Jack walking. Don't trip. Just whatever you do, don't trip.
I feel like I'm watching a movie where he's not watching behind him, and the guy's hiding behind the tree.
Yeah, that's the one, or Blair Witch something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, just in case, Jack, we do know who runs search and rescue for Deschutes County.
Oh, there's your shop.
Oh,
you're
sweet.
Right.
Oh, nice.
You're right at the edge of Wi-Fi.
That's nice. Oh, we might have just lost him.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, Jack, go back over by your door. I think you can make it as far as your door.
those of you just joining, we're showing off our shop, so you're more than welcome to
that's
come
okay.
on video and show off your shop. Up, Jack's walking back now. We see a bright light. Bright light,
Jack,
bright light, bright light.
The only bright light in my life.
Ah, come on. So I was going to say to you,
Great light. All right.
there he goes. He
That
goes.
is a blank canvas. I need to actually. Thanks for asking. It's a very. Not many people know about my shop.
Well, the police do now.
Well, I was going to say, usually, because this is usually I'm not on calls where I can actually, show off the rest, and unfortunately, it's not quite set up yet. But it'll get over there once the video lag goes. That is a reloading bench, right over there. You can see that it hasn't been done since I've moved, but I do gunsmithing as well. So
You need to re-blue my gun. We were talking about that the other day.
I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Perfect. By the way, we have a couple other people joining us here, and I think we've got a couple other people that are quiet out there. Turn your video on. Don't this is not the Tweedledum, Tweedledum, Tweedledummer, Tweedledummest, Tweedle.
Well, it is so far, but that's why we're looking for other people to turn on their video. Come on, people.
Exactly. What I wanted to show you really quickly, and in fact, I'll do horizontal videos so I can actually be respected as a videographer, is I'm sitting here right at the moment. Let me turn this around so you can, there you go, see it's me. So I'm sitting here in Studio B of the Connect Central Oregon Network Event Center and in the OSU-Cascades Innovation Co-Lab. This is my workshop these days, and I'll walk you around real quick because I'm gonna come back to this here in a second. By the way, this is how I'm watching all of you. I've got a Zoom monitor up there, and the one that's up here is the one that you saw on screen with me a moment ago. We've got a couple of broadcast cameras that are set up doing the video coverage of us. But what I was going to say is when Jim was asked the question a minute ago about what does he do when he needs to rip something, he goes to a makerspace that has the tools so that he doesn't have to buy them, maintain them, and he can go and learn from others who have similar interests and share his own experience. Did I read that properly?
I think you did, or at least, what am I doing Monday? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to pull up a couple things. We went recently. We were looking at, these are all props that we're going to be using for some of our video backdrops, and we were looking the other day at just some fun little basic projects. And I think this is another one of those great examples where, I mean, this is a Hobby Lobby item, right? You can go down there and pay your 25 or 30 bucks for your USA home decor, or cast something, spin some ceramic or whatever. But the whole idea is, if you don't have the tools to do it or the knowledge, go get somebody to go show it to you. I wanted to take a moment really quick, and Aaron's going to be joining us, and I think a couple others have been texting me saying that they were running late today. But sitting on the table right here is a project that I wanted to share because it relates to, and it's a perfect example of what we're facing right here. In the studio here, we're taking a conference room that was otherwise used literally as the co-lab for co-working space, and we've turned it into a sound stage, a sound studio. But it doesn't quite have that backdrop, that set, that look, that feel that we would want. So we're in the process of building and making some backdrops and some sets. And we're sourcing this out. So Jim's going to build us a couple of prototypes. Todd, who's one of our board members, built something for us here, which I'll talk about in a minute. But what I wanted to say, one of the things I wanted to share about that I think this Maker Monday is so important is it gives people some ideas about projects to go create, build. So showing what you guys just did is fantastic. But we do also want to continue to find some things where somebody says, I want to go learn how to do this, and then come back and go do it. So DIY Cave is currently the community makerspace that's available. You guys are showing your own personal stuff that you've got. And you can take the woodworking classes at the college. You can go take the welding classes at DIY Cave or at either one of the colleges. But the idea is to get out there and make. So I wanted to take a moment, just because we're all showing off our workspaces. These days, this is my workspace, and I outsource the craftsman maker stuff. Oh,
Well,
so since we're here really quick.
That is a relevant point. I mean, show them the, well, go ahead and show that, but at the end, flip back to where you are on Studio B, because we can talk about what I'd like to try and do on Monday.
We absolutely should. I was just reminded in my in-ears, so I'm walking you right now to come take a look and introduce you to Daniel and Brent, who are currently running the control room here. If you've ever met them or seen them, this
Holy
is...
crap, Daniel, that shirt could stop traffic.
It's a fire.
Yes. we use these guys. We use these guys to calibrate our cameras. So sitting here in front, this is the Zoom. This is what we're managing the Zoom to YouTube and Facebook side from. Here's the audio control panel. You can see me as I'm talking right there. They're routing the audio to various sources. Over here is how they're managing the actual Zoom conference. And there's Daniel, and there's Brent. So this is one of the things that I wanted to point out is this studio and this control room was set up out of a conference room and a storage room. And for those that remember the original Maker Mill, we had an upstairs space that we were in the process of converting. And I'm actually quite excited that what we have now is a room that almost exactly meets that original design. It's here with the university, so it's able to be used, and it's getting used by a lot of people. So I'm actually kind of excited about that, and that's one of the reasons why we host the event, the High Desert Makers Maker Monday from there. So I want...
Hold
Go
that
ahead.
thought for a second, Scott.
Oh,
Go ahead, Doc.
I was just gonna say, I was right in my original assumption. That room is actually where my lab was originally housed before it was the co-lab, and where your desk is actually where the treadmill used to be.
Oh, interesting. Well, the door is locked. Otherwise, I would take you down into your lab downstairs. Maybe
that's a very quick jaunt.
Maybe you'll be our guest soon. All right. So Jim asked me to hold on this shot for a moment.
So one of the things we're looking at doing, if you can see the white walls down on the bottom start of that set, we'd like to try and make those a little livelier, and we'd also like to try and make them reconfigurable. So Scott and I have been brainstorming. Scott, do you have the whiteboard of the simple whiteboard of the diagram somewhere?
I do, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go over here to the computer and show. I'll ask Daniel to bring it up while we're talking here on the whiteboard. So Daniel, bring up my laptop if you would. This was one of the very first prototypes of an idea that we were talking about, and here's the whiteboard that originated some of that discussion.
Yeah, so we're talking about, and we may or may not start off on casters, but we'd actually like to create some 42-inch high partitions that would have something other than a white wall. We're actually looking at maybe, some faux barnwood panels or other things like that that we could use. That's a better one that we can set up that will cover that white wall and make it a more interesting setup. Hey, Aaron, you joined just at the right time. And so we're talking about making a couple of 48 and 60-inch wide panels, probably 42 high, right? Yeah. 348 by 42, 248 by 42 and a half. Oh, that's right. Those are the corner panels. And then a couple 48 by 60s. So looking for some help with that out of the DIY cave for, we've got the Studio B set up where we've got a couple of panels we want to set, but we've also got a couple other studios that we want to do, including the living room set, Studio C.
And
There you go.
these are just background panels, or are these?
Yeah, background panels. So they would basically see the white wall under the windows. We'd want to actually build some panels to set those up. So I want to build some rough, I was actually thinking just out of furring strips, some rough furring frames with a front and a back, or well, with the front and a front that we can use to flip around to be able to create some different set spaces. So, Aaron, that's the conversation that Scott's been having with you, and I'm kind of hoping that I got to figure out my schedule, but I'm kind of hoping that maybe I can bring a prototype over on Monday, and we can crank a couple of these things out and maybe get some sets set up.
I'm sure.
And then
we
the more,
could. What's,
yeah, and
I missed the dimensions. What's the height?
42.
We may even have a bunch of panels already made.
Ooh, because we were
So-
thinking it was going to be about $50 a panel, but if you've already got them made, we could have a different conversation.
Well, let's take a look at the ones I've got when you come over there. They are artistic. They're made out of reclaimed wood and steel. They have feet on them already, so they don't tip over. They don't have casters, but we could add that. And they were designed as dividers between active desks in the co-working space over at Griffin Hall, which we just closed. So we have a few of them, and we're going to retain some for sure, but there's certainly the potential to have a few of them that you guys could use.
Yeah. Now the other one, hey Scott, focus on that massive orange wall over there.
Massive orange wall.
So the other thing, so what you're looking at over there is the Studio A setup, and it's either what, 2 or 3 tables, and it's more of a kind of a conference setup. But that orange wall can be a little daunting for some people. So you can see we've tried to break it up, but we've actually considered putting some cleats on the wall and being able to hang some mosaic panels or some other things to try and break up that space. We don't need to cover all the orange, but we just need to break it up a little. And
Sure.
Scott, I was actually thinking on the way home after we talked today about a couple of different options that we could do on that, but that would be another fun conversation that we could have when we meet up.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
I was actually thinking of doing a build on Monday, but maybe I can try and catch up with you this week, Aaron, and see what's already there. And if we think we have something, we can still do a build, but I thought this would be a fun DIY project to kind of show people, DIY pun intended, to show people if you want to build a simple partition, here's a couple of short, quick ways to do it. Make the panel and then make it in a way that it's not going to then tip over. So you'd have to then do some different heights.
Right, and we can still do that. But it just so happens that almost exactly what you're after, we have a surplus of at the moment in an artistic type of look. So, I mean, it's right up your alley.
Well, and the whole point to this here is, and I brought this up because what Aaron, right before you missed the tour of Jim's shop and then the tour of Doc's, and then Jack went out to the edge of the Wi-Fi zone and showed us his shop. So I was commenting about my shop is here at the moment.
Right.
I don't have a workshop per se, or the workshop that I do is I produce the videos and do the event stuff. But what we were talking about is exactly what you just described. Go to the sources of the knowledge, the equipment, and reduce, reuse, recycle. We haven't even talked about that. If there is an opportunity to take reclaimed wood that has been turned into a product that is no longer used and we could reuse it, we're just continuing the chain. And that's a perfect example. This studio is set up in such a way that we can run the studio, we can run the internships and do our community work. We just want the ability to have different backdrops. Right. It's not, there isn't necessarily a targeted goal that we have. And if somebody comes in with a targeted goal, they can fund it. And if there is a standard, for example, recreating another set of walls, boom, pull these out, put your walls in, and now you've got your own custom studio.
Right, and all of that stuff. Oh, I'm looking to see I have a picture of one. Let's see if I can get it on my computer screen. Can I share my screen, or am I not admin level high enough to do that?
You should. Well, you should be.
Okay.
Um,
I'm gonna get one of those up on my screen.
if
Put
not,
20
we'll make
bucks through the internet connection, and Scott will let you share your screen.
Yeah. Hold on a second. We got to figure this out here. Do I have it set? Oh, it's already taken care of. There you go.
Okay, I'm just gonna grab a picture that happens to show a couple of these panels. And then let's see. Never having shared screen before.
The weirdest thing about Zoom is suddenly all your controls go from the bottom to the top once you share your screen.
Oh, do they really? Oh,
Yes.
That's going to be fun. All right, so I have stop video, which I don't want to do.
Big green button right in the middle.
Now I got it. I just clicked it, and now I'm clicking an icon. Share.
There you go.
So
Ooh.
these are really kind of cool looking. They're just metal and reclaimed cedar siding that we planed and stained. They came off a house in Black Butte Ranch, and they look cool. They have beautiful different colors to them, and they're totally reclaimed. So they're kind of a great place to start if we want.
Hey, I'd be all over those. What do you think, Scott?
I was thinking the same thing, and that is they break up the wall. And again, I'll turn my video back on again just to kind of show as a reminder what we're looking at. Is it going to do it here? Let's do this.
Even if they're not immediately ideal, those would actually be really great in the Studio A space.
Yeah, they just are great for kind of breaking eye lines and just making something a little more interesting. So.
Yeah, because they look a little more than 42 high. They look what?
They probably are. I don't know
52?
exactly.
50?
Yeah, but they're one of those things where even if we wanted to, we could modify them. But I'd prefer not to. I'd prefer to leave them the way they are.
No, I'd leave them as is. Those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, and in fact, that was one of the original ideas was if you look up on, so you got a couple of shots right here. I'm looking at the wall itself with the camera that I'm wiggling right now.
Yeah, it's attractive.
Exactly. Now, the goal ultimately is to get something high enough that based on the camera angle, it hides the windowsill, the windowsill, the actual sill, and the outside sill of the window.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm going to go back over here to kind of where the camera normally would be. We've got lots of camera positioning, but for example, you can see what the position would need to be, and while the height of the wall, let me go back and look at the calculations here.
I see what you mean about the reflectivity of the windows, by the way.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, so the height of the wall itself is 38 inches.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, we were talking about 40-inch height pony wall there, and then we went to a 42-inch pony wall. 42 inches seems to be the spot where the camera obscures.
The camera, you're right.
Yeah, it would be about there.
So
well, the great thing is we could look at these panels and decide to make anything we want, but you may find that the design of these is great, and we could make these very easily. They're simple to make.
Yeah, those were nice. It would look like a metal frame that you just sandwiched the pieces in.
That's
correct. Because what we were thinking, my original thing was thinking furring strips.
I saw that.
And I was just going to do a simple frame on furring strips with a couple of frame pieces internal, because then what we would do is we would have two sides. So you could do soundproofing on the backside to try and deaden some of the sound coming off the windows, or you could just do two different faces, one light, one dark.
Sure.
Because we're trying to provide different things, but I think there's plenty of different options that we could talk about. But more than anything else, it's I thought it would be kind of a neat project for, if you want to build your own type of partition spaces. You've got one solution. Here's another one if you want to do wood.
Right.
I mean, because I was figuring for, walk out for $50 at Home Depot and you could probably have one of the, a 48 or a 60-inch panel made.
Right.
And, so for a couple $100, you completely redo your space. You're probably similar as long as you're not using reclaimed wood from the Black Butte Ranch.
Right.
Right.
So what I propose we do then is come on over and take a look at them, and at the very least, take a few over and put them in place temporarily, and start playing with them in the space, even if they are incorrect sizes or you name it. And then we can, instead of being rushed to make our own to get this done, we can then take our time to make our own and shoot some video and really edit something together that's well done.
And ultimately, now I'm going to come back to that in a minute because you guys have both hit the right approach. One of the questions is, what is the High Desert Makers versus what is a maker space? We want to be in a position, now we're talking about DIY Cave, and Aaron, you're, as a co-owner of the DIY Cave, you're in this interesting dual role position, of course. But also for Jack and Doc and some of the others as stewards, you're in a dual role because you also want to help promote, I don't want to call it agnostic, but non-connected, sort of the maker movement as opposed to any one particular organization, a school, a for-profit, a nonprofit. Correct. So this panel idea is of interest to lots and lots of people. This is the type of thing we want to continue to help promote as High Desert Makers and help make these things happen. And I know, Jack, we've spent a lot of time talking about this. This has been one of your ultimate goals. It ultimately is also what you guys did that led to the Christmas, to the toy build, where you created the projects and then everybody got together and did a community build. That was a community benefit. I want to come back, though, to the panels itself and what, I'm not sure which one of you said the soundproofing, because there is the next idea. Those two-sided panels can be flipped around. One could be black, one could be white, one could be pink and sparkly, one could be muted and dark black or whatever. But the one other project that we have been focusing on, and it, for those that have been following us with the High Desert Makers conversations over at DIY Cave in Milo's space, we know that it echoes. And anybody that's ever taken a class over there knows that. So one of the things that we've been talking about is how to help do some sound deadening in that, and ultimately what you decide to do as DIY Cave may or may not connect itself with the DIY projects that we're talking about creating. But I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to ask Daniel to bring up what we've got on the what I've got on the screen here, because there's a couple of projects that are out there that we've been looking at out on YouTube that are DIY panels. And this is, sorry, Daniel, say that one more time. Yeah, go ahead and go full screen on that one. We'll have you, oh, I go full screen. I'm sorry, there we go. I have to follow my instructions from the control room. So there's an example of a project, and again, I've got a couple here, but these are a couple of ideas that this particular, let's see, I'm going to go full screen. I lose my mouse though. That's what it is. This
Just
does
never
not
screw with the control room because they can make you look like a monkey really fast.
Correct. So here's an example. I can't go, see it, I lose my mouse. It's hard to tell, but this particular design is one that we followed where they picked certain patterns, built with aluminum frames, and then put fabric around them. This is a 3D printed joint to connect them. A little bit of drilling and a standoff to set them apart. I'm just kind of jumping through this really quick. And some acoustic foam, or in this particular case, his photo is of some sofa foam, or, as he gets to it here in a minute, some traditional insulation. Ultimately, covered up by fabric. And placed on the wall. Now, I wanted to bring this up because here's a perfect example where we have a need here in our studio. There is an extreme need at Milo's, as we talked about, and this project may be one that is of interest to the DIY Cave team, but it's an aesthetic design about what the makerspace itself wants. As High Desert Makers, we want to put forth projects that can be done, that we sort of consume on our own, much like you said a moment ago. Create some panels, because some people want separator panels. I'm bringing this one up, and I'm going to show the other. Yeah, see, I'll have to close the laptop to restore the mouse. You gotta love it. It does not like going to full screen. It does not like that.
What did we say earlier? The problems between the chair and the monitor?
It is definitely, God, well, because see, the problem is I can't get you I can't get to the other tab right at the moment without my mouse. I know, I gotta love it. I gotta love it. Hey, this is live. What do you want?
Right.
Somebody needs to stop Doc from making.
There we go.
He's having fun.
You can't. If my wife can't, you can't either.
Hey, Doc, check your email, and I'll know when you do, because you'll start drooling.
It's the interface, not the. So I wanted to bring up this.
Way to go. Ah.
You can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. Just be clear.
Told you.
Divert
Or you
my
can put
attention.
Daniel
That's
on
about
screen
it.
and slow him down.
So what?
Oh, well.
This is live. Never let it be said we don't do live. This guy, similar project. He simply cut out solid core foam panels in a shape, and the solid core foam panels that he chose to use, this foil-based product, is not available in the U.S. I've been trying to find it for a couple of weeks now, unless somebody knows where it is.
Nope.
But when he was done, he created these backer panels, which he mounted on, and now he's got these beautiful shapes like that, and placed those up on the wall. So now he's got some aesthetic patterns up there.
That's probably just crumpled foil. And is it used for sound deadening?
It's not crumpled foil. It is a foil-based shredded foam where he pulls off, and it's rigid, semi-rigid foam, and he peels peeled the foam face off. He referred to it in the comments in here, and it's available in the Netherlands.
Or at your local IKEA.
Well, so as has been pointed out a couple of times, locally here we might be able to do the traditional acoustic tile panels like you'd find for the suspended ceilings. We can get those in different thicknesses, colors, and so forth. But I brought this up for a couple of reasons. One of them, and I'm going to show, here's an example of a product that we could turn into a kit, run as a class, and consume the product ourselves. Aaron, you started to say that a minute ago in terms of, here's a couple of prototypes we were creating earlier. This is Tig Welded Aluminum. And here's an example of a notched, I don't know if you could see it, but it's notched.
There you go.
There it goes, notched in such a way that you can bend it
Just fold
into
it.
that, bend that into that shape, as
You didn't know
opposed
your
to.
own strength.
I did, well, you know, exactly.
Wait, now make a puppy.
It'll just poop. But I broke the momentum here simply to say, this is what we want the High Desert Makers to be, and why we're asking I mean, obviously, it's just the 5 of us talking right now. We had a couple other people that were able to join us here and there. I know Quentin was going to join us here in a moment, and we had a couple others that said they couldn't make it. But we
Quentin's
want.
here. He's just quiet.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He's too quiet.
Hey.
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 We want these projects to come out of our community, and we want to consume them. We want to build them. We want to run them on our own. We're just using this first great example of the studio. We've got the sound. You had the project that you needed to build for Griffin Co-working for the separators, so you built it. The outdoor table for Bevel, as an example. The fire pits. Talking about this sound product. And I wanted to say, as we are working with people that may not know what the High Desert Makers is versus a school, a workshop, a DIY cave, any of these other groups, we want to be able to just have this free flow of ideas, and where the project finds itself, we don't know yet.
Right.
And Aaron, I think right as you were joining, we're going to talk about building some, we're going to talk about building and outsourcing some of these panels to you guys. And I think this is a great opportunity for the stewards to work on. We've got some projects that are working for the 3D printers. We've got some students that want to be able to do 3D printed designs for that, that joint that we talked about.
Cool.
So anyway, let me pause right there and just say, this is a perfect example of what we want to help define ourselves as the High Desert Makers.
And I think that that's a good point, is that as High Desert Makers, we need to look for opportunities to sort of salt the projects, get chum the waters, as it were, get some projects out there, get some examples out there, show people some creative endeavors, and encourage people to plug in and engage and share their creative endeavors. Not to mention, we'll start to get feedback. People will say, "Ooh, gosh, you guys ever done anything with X, Y, and Z?" I don't know why, but every year somebody comes up and says, "Hey, you guys ever build bat houses?" And we just have never pulled it together to build bat houses. They're as simple as can be, but it's a weird thing to try to market. But it's a fantastic thing for something like High Desert Makers to just do a workshop on how to make bat houses. It's a piece of cake. So all these kind of things will start to come up and define who we are and what we can offer.
You just want to be able to hold up a bat house at the end of it and go, "I'm Batman."
Already done it. So we actually went and we did a work right alongside the Forest Service. They were doing a whole thing on bats, and they invited us to come along and show people that those tools are available and you can make bat houses. And oh my gosh, so many Batman jokes. I felt like one of those horrible dad joke guys by the end of the day.
And
By the end of the day.
Okay, by an hour.
Yeah.
An hour.
I do know a guy who would take us out on an owl hunt and go find the shriek owls out in the forest. He's
That'd be
pretty
fun.
good at it.
Do some nighttime photography and things like that.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I'll see if I can get him. Oh, it's the Tiki Voodoo doll.
So this is currently for sale over at Grocery Outlet
I already have that Pokemon.
for $3.99. It is fair to say that it has already freaked a couple of people out, but it is basically a sparrow hut. Just yet another example of some Thule, some I don't know what this is, the fiber here.
Yeah, well, I think you chew that and spit it, so that's kind of an art.
Is it?
Turn it around, Scott. Put 2 googly eyes on it and a stick-on fake mustache, and you got yourself a shrunken head.
I was going to put 2 eyes in the back here, 2 reflective eyes. So it is.
You say that, Aaron. When I was a kid, my older brothers were in Boy Scouts, and they brought home some coconuts, and they painted faces on them and put hats on them. And I thought they had robbed them from some island or something. I was traumatized as a child because of these things.
You said the magic word though, older brothers. That's all you had to say.
Well, there's that. I'm the youngest of six. I have a lot of sins to make up for.
I think the point that we're all trying to make, and Jack, I know we were talking about this, we want to have fun with this idea
Fun.
of making.
Fun. It should be part of our mission.
And I know it's a little hard to get these Maker Mondays started again because we're not meeting. We can't have our tots and our beer. But we want to move forward knowing that there are a number of projects and activities that will become available to us at the end of the year once we get, as a world, we get ahead of this current pandemic. But more importantly, we want people to understand that there is still a great deal of maker movement and activity that they could do. And we want them to be inspired and then in turn inspire us and just keep that circle going.
Yeah.
You know, Scott, remind me next month, and I will try and do this from the art gallery, and so we can wander around the gallery. We have a couple. I mean, where does we actually talk a lot in the gallery down in Sun River about where does art and craft intersect? And you know, we have some people that hand throw the pots and bisque fire them, and then actually do earth clay firing. We have a couple woodworkers, myself included. You know, obviously some painters and other things like that. But what's the difference between art and craft, and how do you actually put it together? And maybe what I can do, if he's available, is try and get Jesse Pemberton to show up. He's one of the most accomplished metal workers in the area. He can tell you some fun stories about the metal shop he used to own in the Bay Area, including all the furniture he made out of some recycled Bay Bridge parts.
You know, we absolutely can bring on some people from the Bay Area that have had some that have some stories to tell, if you will.
Well, one of Jesse's clients back in the Bay Area was some company. I'm trying to remember. They make cars. Something with voltage. I can't remember. Power, DC, Tess. I can't remember.
Yeah.
So let me see, because he's one of the COMAG guys, and so I'll see if I can get him next time and maybe pull that in. But it would be fun for him and me to be down in the gallery and show off some of the metal work that he does. And he's got a fun shop. I mean, he's not quite the Doc size or the Jack size or anything like that. But I showed you one of the hairpin legs that he made earlier, and so he's got some fun stuff that he can do. Maybe we can drag him in next time.
Did I have a question real quick? Quentin, you're out there being quiet. Anything you want to say or share or inspire or talk about some of the cool stuff you're doing?
I'm observing. Sorry, I've been out of the loop. That's what I'll say. Is I'll apologize for being out of the loop a bit. I'm having a hard time getting emails in, I guess. So I've been kind of out of the loop with all you guys. So I'm just catching back up a little bit, trying to get back in the loop so I can be on board and helpful. But yeah, I'm excited to pop back in and see that everyone's working up on on setting up the panels for the wall.
Show up on Monday, DIY Cave, right? Is that what I heard?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jim and I are going to meet first, then we'll make an appointment.
Yeah. So Quentin, I don't know you. Tell me, what's your gig? What do you like to do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
I like to build a lot. I have a lot of experience working with plastics. I have, I want to say I have maybe close to 2 years of experience doing research and development for a plastic recycling company that's ended. But I teach down at the DIY Cave. I teach 3D printing and 3D design for kids' classes and so forth. I'm a student at OSU. That's a little bit about me, I guess. What about you? What do you do?
Well, so I'm an artist. I do live edge art, and I work mostly in wood. And I had some past career in high tech, and did a little bit of stuff back then. But you say plastics, and nobody has yet to quote The Graduate, so I'm actually a little disappointed. The Graduate was probably a movie. It was a movie that was probably made before you were, before your parents were conceived. So don't worry about it.
No worries. I'll have to look up on it. Throw the name in the comments. I'll look it up.
The only thing I can remember is Dustin Hoffman saying something about, I think
Done. Plastics.
Quentin, I actually had a request I was going to ask you about. My broom in my shop is starting to give up the ghost, and I was wondering how easy would it be to make plastic bristles for a broom from recycled materials?
Ooh.
That is
Work for the
something.
broomsman?
How thick
Being
of
a
bristles
broomsman?
are you trying to get?
I don't know. I haven't calibrated myself to my about that size.
Watch out! He's got a broom.
These are I'd say millimeter in diameter.
You could extrude
But-
it. That would be the easiest way. You could try to do a thin sheet and chop up the bristles you need, so that you can get a good thickness, so that it's tough enough. If it's as long as it's not too thin, because the plastic tries to resist being as thinned out as possible, depending on the material. But it really doesn't like to get thin, so you could probably try to extrude it through various means. But it's very doable.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, I guess the type of plastic. I have no idea what would be the appropriate kind. Like,
Depends on the quality of the broom.
I don't know.
Because I've seen like because I know Harbor Freight definitely has some cheap like bristle brooms, and like some other stores have like really high quality bristles, like with like nylon in it or something maybe. I don't know, but that's something.
Carbon fiber bristles.
The challenge is not make it cheap. The challenge is make it.
So, Doc, you're missing a great opportunity here. You have an incredible, unending source of broom bristles at your disposal, particularly your disposal.
I am fully aware, and I've already gone through this entire thought process. All of the ponderosa pine needles that I have on my property would make a good brush, except they're a little on the brittle side. There is a stabilizing in vegetable glycerin that is typically done with basket weaving, but that would not put up with the constant flex that the broom would have.
Oh,
But it
see,
doesn't matter. It's a one-time use, and then you make another.
Are they
See, now
I'm not
yeah.
made of brooms. Brooms don't grow on tree. Oh,
now
Are
I
they
am
really
gonna
brittle
now I
when
am
they
gonna have
fall?
to do next month from the art gallery, because you guys have to see what Charlene Verts does
Can
with
you harvest the bristles, the pine needles from next season?
you guys are going to have to see what Charlene does with ponderosa pine needles. She weaves baskets and does high end art with that. Beautiful stuff. But she's got a hand dyeing station and a weaving station and some of the work that she does.
I
we should
actually
drag her in.
one of the things I've had difficulty with, and more difficulty than I should or anyone should have with any sort of DIY thing, is staining or dyeing the needles. I have literally gone through all of my chemistry knowledge to try to use bleaches and acids and molecular dyes, etc., and nothing dyes those needles very well. So I'd love to know how she does it.
We'll talk. I'll do the intro. Beautiful stuff. So she does. She has her own loom, and she does woven horse blankets and other things like that. But the pine needle art is just amazing.
yeah, I'd be interested because, as Aaron said, I have more pine needles than I know what to do with.
No,
They
true,
currently
yeah.
are mostly being burned, and I feel like it's a good resource going to waste.
Unless you're cold, then it's a good resource going to good waste.
Yeah,
True,
for
but that's
30
why I
seconds.
stop by all the hardwood. Yeah, that's why I stop by all the hardwood supply places and pick up all their scrap. Because
Yeah, go talk to everyone in
my shop.
Texas. They'll burn anything at this point.
So true.
But also, Jim, one of the things that you may want to let some of those potters know, I have an entire line of pottery ribs that I sell that are from like Babinga and Purple Heart and Willamette Valley Walnut and just a bunch of stuff. I'm also now working on like needle tools and the loop cutting tools.
Mm-hmm.
That might be of interest.
Well, there would be some interest there. I will certainly let that be known. And I'll try and get Travis to come in here at some point. Travis is another woodworker in the gallery. He does a lot of wood and leather work, and has done some very interesting stuff. And so I'll try and swing him in for one of these future meetings as well. Oh, Aaron's got a show and tell.
That's definitely
Right.
up my alley.
My father was a potter, and he made interesting artwork. This is just one of his pieces that I recently reacquired.
That's pretty.
The glaze is Mount St. Helens ash.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, it's the glazes that you can get off pottery, especially earth-fired pottery, is amazing.
That was probably one of my first big forays into making was pottery. So I did pottery for probably about 4 or 5 years. Had my own little kiln and pottery wheel at home, and yeah, it was a blast. It just takes so much space.
I'm feeling left out with the discussion, and back to your point of space.
Oh.
So I wanted to show a couple of my prized items here, just because we're talking. This originally, Hobby Lobby, 1999, $2.99 at the $2.99 at the thrift store.
Your price $5.99.
This one right here, which I mean, again, it's a beautiful heirloom piece. $1.99.
Okay, now you're making me have to do this.
And this, I actually had to search for this through 3 racks at TJ Maxx, but I was able to find it, and it was $2.99.
You really do sound like you're on the shopping channel, Scott.
Exactly. But wait, there's more.
There we go.
They're telling me in the control room I looked the part too. Uh-oh, Aaron.
My father made me this planter when I was 7 years old. See how it's got bats on it?
Whoa.
Because every father knows his kid wants a planter.
Well, I'm sorry, Aaron. Is that where you come from, Aaron?
This is all out of clay. He sculpted this whole thing and inscribed it on the bottom, which you won't be able to see right now. But yeah, I've got some interesting pottery pieces in my house.
Yeah, you do. I think I think that might actually win. The other 2 pieces that I didn't bring over a moment ago, of course, was the golden chalice, which was fine crafted, $2. But here's the one that caught my eye.
What?
Gong.
Is that a gong?
It's not a gong. It's basically cast. Like, look how thin it is. but it's cast, and I think I was looking at it. I think it's the metal infused resin that was put into a mold and then rubbed with the what do you call it, the polish or whatever, to get the grain to come out.
I'm pretty sure Indiana Jones is looking for that.
So Ross, $12.99. He can find it there.
Do you keep the price tags on all of these things for a reason?
I just bought them a couple days ago, and because that's the other part about building all these sets, is that that's wherever we can find stuff, we find stuff.
Why you got to call him out like that, Tim? You realize that all the pictures at his house are of the people who came in the frame.
But you know what's so cool is when I get tired of one family or one woman, replace them.
So I'll try and show off a little bit. Don't mind the video lag again. So about 20 years ago, I was telling my dad I had a few CDs, and so for Christmas he gave me five boxes that he made. My dad used to. He was the lead test engineer for GE jet aircraft engines, and so when he needed to blow off some steam, he would come home and do woodwork. So he actually created his own dovetail jigs. Those are not routed; those are actually hand carved. But he created a jig so that he could go do some carving, or so that he could carve in pieces and make his own dovetails, and maybe the CD cases. What I thought was funny was he made me a couple, and this is the funniest. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let's see if it shows up. Come on. You can see the top one is actually a little smaller than
Yep.
than all the other ones, because he ran out of wood, and he said, well, I wanted to make you one last one, and so I just made it. But he actually hand drilled all the dowel holes, and then cut some dowels for me and put them in, and then hand carved some feet. It's kind of fun. He used to do, I would do things like where I would talk to him and I go, well, I think the measurements, 16 7/8 by this and this. And he would write them down and then forget it. And then a month later, he would send me the thing and he was like, well, I just kind of guessed, and it would exactly fit however he wanted to do. One of those amazing woodworkers. It was always fun to watch him hang around. And several of the boys in the family have picked up woodworking, and most of the time what we go is, shit, we should have listened to Dad a lot more.
This is interesting. This is really poignant and truly maker centric. When you think about it, we have things in our life that were made by somebody for us at some time, and we hold on to them, and they have stories behind them, and they have significance to us. To take Scott's humorous example as an example, you don't see anybody saying, oh, look at this. This is this great pot that my mother bought from Hobby Lobby 35 years ago. Those stories never live. It's the ones about the things that were made. And I think that's one of those messages that we as a maker community really need to get out there, is that we all have those things in our lives, and we aren't generating a lot of those things for the new generation. And so it's kind of a great thing to bring forth and say, do you want to be that person for your family? Do you want to be that person who, maybe it's a terrible, ugly, horrible wooden corn husk doll, something like that, but it's your first thing. You'll get better. You'll make more. You have to start somewhere to be on the journey of being a maker.
A lot of times in the gallery, what we talk about are happy accidents. And oh yeah, I was making this and ripped it a little too far, so suddenly it went from being a bookcase to being a shelf, or suddenly it went to do this. And Scott's got some other examples that he's showing off of some of the more program pieces and other things like that. But in a lot of cases, it's down to what's the concept and what's the reality in terms of what comes out.
wanted to show you. Hear me okay?
A little, yeah.
I brought this up because I want this award, award, along with the base. You see, you get critical, right? Of course, the
You're breaking
glue
up.
that we put down here is.
It's your audio that's breaking up, Scott.
Oh,
Yeah.
here. Let me step out of the control room here and see if the
That's much
reception
better.
works.
You
Perfect.
didn't even walk as far as Jack to do his shop in your audio. Bro.
Exactly.
What the hell's wrong with you?
What I wanted to say simply is that this is a perfect example right at the moment of the students did this. This is a student created piece that was given to the students themselves as the participating for the tournament, the First Tech Challenge tournament. And Aaron, what you're describing a moment ago, I still have some things from growing up, whether it's the macaroni necklace or your the thing you showed with your that your dad made. This is the best of what we have to offer, which is our own handcrafted stuff. So let's make sure that we continue with that philosophy of don't consume, create, and learn how to be that person that ultimately creates the product and moves the skills on.
The point is never throw anything away.
Never throw it away.
Never throw
Reduce,
anything
reuse,
away.
recycle.
Anything that you have can be reused. Another person I should really bring in is Cheryl Chapman, who does some really wonderful enameled glass stuff and does stuff, or Amy Pfeiffer, who we were trying to invite. And almost everything she does is recycled metal. She buys old sterling silver and turns it into silver jewelry. She finds old hammered copper and creates copper jewelry out of it. So I think there's a lot that can really go down that path.
As
in the interest,
as a general idea, I was just going to say, in the general idea of that sentiment, I've got a philosophy about wood. Basically, treat it like a buffalo. You use all the parts. You basically, you have your big projects, and then you have your small pieces that become pens or trinkets, or then you have your sawdust that you can compress into bricks and burn. Or, I mean, there's never a part of wood that you can't use effectively.
When I build my shelves, I usually will hide all the mounting holes, and so I'll take little chunks of wood and I'll run them on the belt sander, and make small plugs that I can do to cover that up. And so I have two entire boxes full of kind of big wood crap and small wood crap that I try and figure out how to incorporate in some of the work that I do long term. So yeah, absolutely agree with you.
I want you all to hold Doc to what he said, though, because he knows that we just got somebody who donated to us a rosewood piano with the intention that we dismantle it and use the wood for art projects. So Doc, you've got a lot of making ahead of you to make all that wood into something.
Oh, that's really simple. Just turn it into a bar.
Yeah.
Hey, it's if you want the ultimate in makers, just hop on Discovery and go look up Salvage Dogs if you haven't watched it. They will salvage
dogs.
If you have not seen it,
I'm sorry. One last time.
Salvage Dogs.
Salvage Dogs. Got it.
They're a salvage house in Virginia, and they do. And actually, an episode I was watching last night, they turned an upright piano into a bar that is just absolutely freaking beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'll have some good stuff.
So I'll tell you what. In the interest of tonight, we had a Maker Monday. We talked about this before. The measure of success is whether we're having them. We absolutely want to create the opportunity for more makers to come. I got a couple of messages from some people who, again, said they would have loved to have joined but weren't able to. We want to make it meaningful, and I've enjoyed hanging and talking about the different stuff and the different ideas. Let's make it intentional going forward. Let's talk about some of these other projects. Let's pick a maker spotlight, and let's continue talking about different ideas. I'm just thinking, each one of us, as you can clearly see, even though we all knew each other, we all have stories to tell. I didn't know that about any one of you guys, some of the projects and the ideas and so on. We saw Jack's workshop for the first time. We saw Doc's meth lab in the back. Sorry, workshop. Sorry.
Soon.
Sorry. He says he's making acid. Right.
He's making pine needle.
Nitric,
spell.
lysergic. I learned how to distill in Indiana. I gave that up.
Why?
I
Tell
want
you the truth, I became an alcoholic and had to stop.
That'll do it every time.
There you go.
Okay.
In the interest of wrapping up for tonight and preparing for our next Maker Monday, which is Monday, April 4th. Any last words of wisdom or inspiration? I'll randomly start. Aaron.
Never accept wooden nickels unless Doc has personally turned them on his lathe. And Jim, I sent you a Facebook friend request so we can start connecting, and we'll.
I saw it.
Yeah, we'll get connected.
Yeah, you're going to have to deal with all my political comments, but everything else is good.
That's okay. You'll have to deal with my lack of political comments, so it'll be a perfect balance.
Yeah.
Oh, Aaron's out of control. Any last words of wisdom or inspiration there, Doc?
I may not have wooden nickels, but I do have my own currency that's made out of pewter. It says Medicus Omnium Artium, Doc of all trades on one side, and on the other side it has a flying spaghetti monster, and it says Nequis Podex, which translates to don't be an anus.
How much are those?
Of course.
They're worth one Podex.
You could probably make that rounder on a metal lathe if only you had one set up.
Oh, hey, look! If only I had one set. Oh, it's just not together. It's sitting there underneath all of the crap. By the way, Quentin gave me that to actually get working.
That's good. Well,
at some point.
There's an X carve that I understand at different days. It's in certain states of repair or disrepair. Quentin, any last words of advice or inspiration? Which, by the way, perfectly landed joke against Doc. That was good.
Well, thank you. I heard quite a few interests in people actually looking into using different objects considered trash to actually make things, like the pine needles, or what Jim was saying and about his friend who was making jewelry. I love hearing that. I'm all about the recycling stuff. I actually have something. If I could get my camera working right now, I would show it off. But I love to see all the recycling stuff. I'd love to see more Maker Mondays looking into like recycled, upcycled, however you want to say it, projects. I think that'd be amazing to see.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
As opposed to Scott right now, who has Consumer Monday sitting on his desk.
Hey, I'm sorry, where's this DIY cave mug made?
Touche.
It's like this, Scott. It's like this.
Yes, exactly. The guys in the control room are telling me that I have a new career. Any last
Vanna Breeze?
He's not getting away with that one. We didn't say anything.
Oh, wow.
You know, this is how Mike Rowe got started, right? Just QVC, baby. You can do it.
Cats love it. Cats love the bag sound. They just.
Oh my God. Look, it'll cut this and it'll cut my arm off. Jack, words of wisdom, or Calgon, take us away.
I would just say that just listening to y'all has got me thinking. And Doc, you had mentioned that you were inspiring me to do something with leather. I would like to take the next step with that. So yeah, just hanging around with people that are talking about making and is what we need to do if we want to move forward. So
I've got some prime horse butt that's ready for you.
Okay, let's talk tomorrow.
You know, Jack,
it's
for
leather,
the
by the
record,
way.
he uses that line all day long, even when he's not making. So that's a red flag.
Horse butt. Okay.
Can I take this opportunity as we wrap up here to say, Aaron, I noticed DIY Cave has announced that you're starting classes again, and there's a couple others. So a couple of them are actually quite full, but take this opportunity to plug and bring people down to take classes.
Yeah, it's been something that we turned off during COVID, at least during the highest pandemic months. Just because even though we've reduced the sizes of our classes, it's still just too many people in one area. And now that A, conditions are starting to loosen up, and B, we have our reduced class sizes so we can do some distancing, people have been hammering me via email and phone call for months now to get winter classes coming back, winter classes coming back, winter classes coming back. Okay, they're back, all right? So we are starting off slow. Because the classes are no courses, no anything like that. We're keeping it real nice and simple. And then after that goes well, and if things are still going well, next month we'll bring back even more classes and more diversity. At least that's the plan so far. So if you've been hankering for a class, come on down.
Exactly. I'll ask Daniel in the control room one last time to bring up the computer, because I brought up the live view of the DIY Cave class schedule, and sheet metal, forge, kids woodworking, soldering, kids 3D, youth welding, mixed metal jewelry, lathe turning, copper spinning, railroad spike bladesmith workshop.
That's a fun one.
There's I saw some others that I was interested in. There's the woodworking
Wood lathe.
for
Take the wood lathe.
take the wood. Well, I was going to take metal lathe. Sorry,
No, not wood lathe.
There's, I guess if nothing else, this is an example where there are going to be more and more opportunities, and for events and activities. I know that I want to highlight some of the other companies and organizations that are starting to run more classes as well. We're just talking about DIY Cave right now. They're just one of them. The schools are starting to offer some. I know COCC is going to offer some enrichment programs during the summer, and I think Ben Park and Rec is offering a couple as well. But there's ArtStation, there's a number of other local ones, so we'll continue to highlight those. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to run the Maker Mondays. We're going to continue to provide that platform for people to talk about what opportunities there are for making and creative pursuits here in Central Oregon. And again, we want more people, and when we can get back to being at McMenamins to hang out as well, we'll do that. So with that said, we're going to wrap up. I will ask the control room to kill our Facebook and YouTube feed, and then they'll let me know in the earpiece when that's done, and then we'll just quickly wrap up with the rest of us on Zoom. But quick wave for all those people out there on Facebook and YouTube. Remember to go to the DIY Cave and the High Desert Makers Facebook pages and sign up for the mailing list and keep your profiles updated. All right, control room, go ahead and kill those two feeds and let me know when you're ready.